Federal government unveils measures to address high food prices. Egypt's annual urban consumer price inflation slows to 27.5% in June. Plus, oil slips as markets weigh China data, easing supply concerns. The program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Musa Abubakar, your guide. Now let's bring you up to speed with business development. The federal government has approved 150 days duty-free import window for assorted food commodities. Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Abubakar Kyari, in a statement this Wednesday, says the suspension of duties, tariffs and taxes covers maize, husk brown rice, wheat and cowpeas. He, however, says the imported food commodities will be subjected to a recommended retail price. Abubakar Kyari also says the federal government will import 250,000 metric tons of wheat and 250,000 metric tons of maize and will be supplied to small-scale processors and millers across the country. To this end, the government will provide support to farmers to scale up production during 2024 and 2025 planting seasons. The minister says engagement will with relevant stakeholders for the purchase of surplus food commodities to restock the National Strategic Food Reserve is on. He says the ministry is collaborating with sub-national entities to identify irrigable lands and increase land under cultivation. Similarly, President Bola Tinubu has inaugurated a high-powered committee to address issues relating to farmer-herders clashes in the country. The committee is named the Renewed Hope Livestock Reform Implementation Committee. State House correspondent Musbaut and Wahab reports that the president also pronounced the creation of a new ministry to be known as Federal Ministry of Livestock Development.
The pastoralists with their much treasured head, just as the farmers expect multiple yields from their plantations. Conflict of individual interest has resulted in violent clashes across farmlands with thousands of lives and properties consumed. Successive administrations had searched for an enduring solution to the perennial farmers-herders clashes that appeared elusive for years.
Who says the solution is far? I say no, the solution is here.
The Presidential Livestock Reform Committee set up last year, headed by former Kano State Governor Abdullahi Ganduje, has made recommendations they hope can provide the lasting solution now ready for implementation. And President Bola Tinubu believes Nigeria is close to the much expected solution.
First and foremost, to provide impetus to enable Nigeria to finally take advantage of livestock farming, dairy product, cold chain logistics, collectively offer substantial commercial and economic advantages We have seen solution and opportunity with this adversity that had plagued us over the years. And I believe the prosperity is here in your hands.
Also hoping to convert the adversity of many years to prosperity, the administration is setting up another set of experts in motion in a 26-member implementation committee. And for proper development of the potential in the sector, President Tinubu's administration is creating the Ministry of Livestock Development. From the State House, Musbao and Wahab.
President Bola Tinubu has been assured that the various issues around the supply of chain of petroleum products, which resulted in the current scarcity of petrol, are being addressed. Chief Executive of the Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, Farouk Ahmed, who was in the State House to brief the President, promises that the logistics issues are being resolved and normal a steady supply will be returned in a matter of days. He also updated the President on other regulatory matters in the sector.
To brief him about the supply situation as well as the topical issue about Dangote refinery and the issue of issuance of licenses for importation of petroleum products, as well as patronizing our local industry. And I assured Mr. President that we are going to patronize our local industry, we are going to protect our local industry, but at the same time we have to look at the market is deregulated. So I have briefed him, and just an ongoing normal briefing that I did because of the concerns that he raised about all the talk about quality of products. And I explained to him the quality of products that is being imported in the country versus the quality of products being produced locally. So, and he's happy with it.
Meanwhile, the oil prices dip on Wednesday as the impact from a Hurricane Beryl dissipated, and inflation data highlighted stubbornly weak consumer demand in top crude importer China. Brent futures were down 58 cents at $84.08 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude was down 48 cents to $80.93 a barrel. Both the contracts lost about 3% in the previous 3 sessions, on signs that the Texas energy industry came off relatively unscathed from Hurricane Beryl after it lashed the region on Monday. On that note, we now see prices of other commodities. Now, moving on, the federal government has called on the United Nations to increase its support for Nigeria's development efforts, citing the country's bold reforms and the need for faster response to challenges. Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, made the appeal during a courtesy visit from the Deputy Director General of the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, Ms. Fatou Haidara, and her team. Bagudu noted that despite Nigeria's efforts to implement reforms, the UN system has not responded quickly enough to provide adequate assistance. He urged the UN to increase its interventions in the African region, citing the need for more effective support. The minister also advised the UN to streamline its activities to avoid duplication of efforts in government ministries and agencies. And now let's head to the global market where Mrs. Amosu, it seems like Mrs. Amosu is not ready Well, let's move to the currency market and see how the naira is exchanging for other currencies. Let's find out. Well, it seems like Mrs. Amosu is ready for us. Well, Mrs. Amosu, give us the numbers.
Thank you very much, Musa. Hello and welcome to the Global Market Review. Now, as the June Consumer Price Index report is slated for release Thursday, economists polled by Dow Jones expect a 0.1% month-over-month advance and a 3.1% year-on-year gain. Meanwhile, the S&P 500 rose slightly on Wednesday as investors looked ahead to a major U.S. inflation report. The Nasdaq Composite top 0.4%, S&P 0.25%, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average also advanced 0.05% across 39,614. European stocks were higher Wednesday as investors turned their attention stateside after a week of political drama. Most stocks closed positive, with DAX, FTSE and CAC topping 0.65%, 0.63% and 0.61%. Asian markets were mixed on Wednesday, with Japan markets hitting new records after inflation data from the country met expectations. The Japan's Nikkei 225 extended gains from Tuesday to reach a fresh closing high of 41,831.99, while the Shanghai Composite and the Hang Seng Index dipped 0.68% at 2,939.36, followed by the Hang Seng Index at 17,471.67. It was mostly positive outing for most African stocks, with Tunisia, Namibia and Ghana posting gains, while South Africa pulled back with 0.13% across 73,484.63 basis points. That's the Global Market Review. I am Bosede Able Amosu. Back to you, Musa.
Thank you, Bosede. Well, this is where we end this edition of Business Express. We value your feedback, so keep the comments, observations, and suggestions coming. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. Business Express returns tomorrow by 9:30 a.m. I'm Musa Abubakar.